Tendency of Chile.
Good morning, my name is Paulina Granados. I am the head of the research department at the Superintendencia of Pensions, and also I am the executive secretary of the organization of pension supervisors, AIOS. The official language of the technical meeting today is going to be Spanish, so if you need translation, we have the devices on the table. People in the back can ask for the devices for translation at the entrance. And for our colleagues connected from the countries, you have to choose the option that better fits your language selection. Now I will continue in Spanish. Para decirles un poco la diferencia de esta reunión con las reuniones que tuvimos ayer, estas reuniones se llaman reuniones técnicas AIOS-BID. Las hacemos ya desde, no sé, Waldo, creo que
we were doing this for 7 years already. And these meetings are closed meetings for supervisors. And we also allow, thanks to the digital advent of these platforms, we have our personnel in our AIOS community to connect, to listen to these conversations. And as you see, are much more technical and much go or delved deeper, although sessions yesterday were quite deep as well. On behalf of the Pension Superintendency, the International Associations of Pension Fund Supervisors, IDB, through the Latin American Pension Network, PLAC, I'd like to welcome you to this Technical Meetings 2024. This is a partnership that started in 2018 with that undoubtedly has rendered fruit. We are here to meet about to discuss topics discussed yesterday in our conference entitled Innovation and Sustainability in Pension Fund Management. We're going to have the Undersecretary of Social Prevention, Mr. Claudio Reyes Barrientos, Mr. Julio Cesar Cervantes, President of AIOS, and the PLAC Network Coordinator, Waldo Tapia, on behalf of IDB. Let me introduce the Undersecretary of Social Security, and then I will invite you to approach the podium. Claudio Reyes Barrientos is a business engineer from Catholic University with a postgraduate studies in finance in the Institute of Science and Technology of the University of Manchester in the UK, and with executive training at Kellogg School of Management of the University of Northwestern in the US. He has a vast career in public service between 2009 and 2010. He performed as Undersecretary of Social Security, driving former President Michelle Bachelet's reform that created the Solidarity Prize. Then, in between 2014 and 2020, he was the Social Security Superintendent, driving a modernization process of the institutions in order to do electronic management of information for users. Prior to his appointment as a Social Security head, he was the coordinator of modernization of the state from the Ministry of Finance. I'd like to invite the Undersecretary to approach the podium for the opening remarks. specific emphasis in improving condition of women in our country to correct these deficiencies, and also to drive these PGU, guaranteed pension, to eliminate poverty among senior citizens. The improvements in this contributive pillar entail gradually increasing contribution by 6%, today's 10%, but in this case paid by the employers, something that didn't exist until now, or at least until 1981, but it then disappeared. And that 6%, additional 6%, well, the proposal that we are negotiating today is that half of that, 3% of that, should go to individually funded pensions, and the other 3% will build a social security. And that social security or social insurance is the one that will raise the current pensions and create the necessary mechanisms to reduce inequality, specifically in terms of women's pensions, but also improving future pensions by introducing intergenerational solidarious mechanisms in the as to the contributions. It is also about improving efficiency in the industry through a reorganization in it with a lower administration fees of the pension accounts, besides reducing the fees in this case that would apply to the balance and not to salaries, and also changes in the stocks of pensioners, with all that improving future pensions. The reorganization of the industry as well will allow to provide more freedom to people to choose between a private pension fund and a number of private providers. This pension reform will deal with low pensions received by women, specifically facing issues that impact their pensions, such as more life expectancy, non-remunerated care tasks, and significant pension gaps in their contributions. That's something that affects women, daughters, granddaughters, thinking of the current pensioners and the future ones. The reorganization of the industry will also intend to capture economies of scale by centralizing all the back office functions of pension fund administrators, besides opening up the investment funds to new investors, including a public one, in order to reduce fees through more competition. In terms of investment funds, the task is to gradually shift or transition from the current multi-fund system to generational funds or target date funds in the future. And that's why it considers gradual change, considering up to 6 years, but mostly is a necessary reform because we need to correct the faults in our pension system, which translates into low pensions for a significant amount of citizens. We've spent more than 10 years trying to run a reform in the pension system. We've tried twice to reform the pension system because of the same reasons as today's reform, that in turn has been in discussion in Parliament for over a year, and we haven't been able to do it because we haven't been able to achieve consensus. Possibly the reason of not achieving consensus is because we were close to electoral periods. Today again, we have that possibility because elections are around the corner again, and in order to discuss these topics, that's not the best environment to make such long-term decisions, but undoubtedly we need, as a society, to reach agreements. If a pension system is not able to mitigate poverty during senior years, or to keep a reasonable income between the active life and pension age, and the consequences of the decreasing incomes, the pension fund management should not lose sight of the objectives for which it was created. And also, it should be able to react on time when those objectives are diluted. In otherwise, the system is not socially valid anymore, which may lead to even worse results. I'd like to leave you with a couple of thoughts and to reiterate the wish of success in these technical sessions that you consider for these next 2 days. Thank you very much.
We would like to thank the welcoming words from the Undersecretary, and given his agenda, he will not be able to continue with us for the rest of the day. So we thank him for having shared these opening remarks with us, and he will now leave. So let me now present the second authority who will also give us some welcoming words, Mr. Julio Cesar Cervantes. Julio Cesar Cervantes, since May 2023, chairs CONSAR, the National Commissions for the Savings in Mexico, and he is from the University of Mexico and has a master's in economics. He also has a 2 master's degree, Catholic University of Louvain in Belgium, and also on management and pension funds from the Ibero-American Social Security Institution. He has become the financial head of CONSAR, of institutional planning in the Social Security Plan and Social Services of the Workers from the State, Director of Pension Public Funds, and from the Secretary of Finance and Public Credit, and also a researcher from the Deputy of Chambers. Since May 2023, he's also chairing AIOS, an institution that brings together 10 supervisory bodies in Latin America. He's also a member of the Bureau of the Working Party of the Private Pension Funds and the IOPS, with which more than 80 countries are represented. Thank you, Paulina. Good morning, everybody. I would like to welcome you to this technical committee from AIOS on sustainability in the management of pension funds, held together with the PLAC network as well as with the IDB. I would like to welcome the authorities that are here with us. Ursula Schwarzkopf, who is representing Osvaldo Macías, Superintendent of Pensions here in Chile. We would also like to greet our colleagues from Paraguay and Uruguay, Karen Maki and Rosario Garat, and we would also like to greet our friends Francisco Torre, Rolando Mejías, Elio Sánchez, as well as Federico Meléndez from Costa Rica. Good morning, as well as the technical guests that are with us today, Octavio Baguinas, Mr. Clark, Mike Clark, Waldo Tapia, the coordinator of the PLAC network, who is with us always in these meetings. So for today, we start the technical meetings by following up the topics that the Minister Jara shared with us yesterday, as well as Undersecretary Barrientos regarding the challenges of the public policies that our pension system has, which must be able to create the maximum benefit for our workers. From what was presented yesterday, I would like to highlight some very important topics for the region. First of all, in the section of generational funds, we started first with the work of Edgar Robles, and the data presented for the different countries state that the growth of the financial markets has a close relationship with the development of the pension fund systems. Is in the case of Mexico, we also share this, and it's a consensus between the different actors of the financial system, that the development of this curve has been thanks to the pension funds. So investment in long terms are are converged between investors and savers. They're looking for opportunities that create sustained growth, and these benefits internal savings because it channels the resources for the production that stimulate the economic fund growth by generating employment and strengthening social and economic infrastructure. Also, I would like to highlight the importance of the virtuous circle between the long-term economics and I would like to highlight the importance of trying to find the best possible corporate governance, but also to address the regulation for these flexibilities so that investors can take the best possible decisions. And it is important to find a diversification of the generational funds or target-dated fund. We also saw the decrease in the operational cost in time, the predictability of returns, as well as the creation of internal markets for assets and liquidity. We also heard the experience from the United States going beyond the long-term investments and considering this framing in order to guide the individuals for their best options, the best options according to their age groups and desires. Also learning about the experience from other countries, which really helped to motivate the debate, but also we saw different reflections from the national experience in less than 5 years. Through the implementation of generational funds in Mexico, we have seen significant changes, such as the conversion of limits with a gradual decrease, a better improvement of younger profiles, just to mention a couple. On the session regarding social and environmental factors and corporate governance, we saw a deep discussion on the importance of integrating these factors in the investment strategies, but also in the risk analysis. The panel agreed that in order to address climate change, the measures are currently insufficient, and we know all of the efforts that exist in trying to implement environmental objectives. Michael Clark emphasized the need of adopting a resilient position given the real scenarios, acknowledging that measurements of the current risk do not consider some critical elements like migration and technological evolution, especially in the context of a predictable climate change. One of the key points by Lisbeth Valencia was the importance of government actions, transparency in the information and the implementation of these factors. And in this sense, she emphasized creating an appropriate environment with a public policies scheme and collaboration between the stakeholders, and also the need of developing new needs and creating promotions in order to foster investment because it is not currently being done with the green assets, which are considered more important. Waldo Tapia also recognized that ESG do have a positive impact in the financial performance and also the externalities that create this investment, yet also the availability of information was highlighted that can allow investors to evaluate decision making, and including this information in the different stages of withdrawal, as well as the representation from the Ministry of Finance, who talked about the involvement of the government in several key aspects, the need to mobilize resources and to promote international cooperation. She also mentioned the key role played by the government in the implementation with thematic guilds and sustainable projections. Also, establishing an agreed point on the green tools, and also having tools like taxonomy. In the artificial intelligence session, Diego Fernandez made us reflect on the importance of the common understanding of this language, which is not common for many in the panels. We must understand we must try and understand a common concepts so that we can understand the different contexts and the different mistakes mistakes that we make in the model, some of which are acceptable, but and considering likelihood and unlikelihoods. We must acknowledge then the importance of artificial intelligence on pension funds in order to increase productivity and performance. And I would like to highlight the labor in data management and the ethics. Based on all of the aforementioned and with the information that we're going to have in the presentations today, I do expect that we will strengthen public policies for the benefits of the affiliates in the region. I would also like to thank the work of Paulina, Granados and Jose Arias in making this conference possible, as well as the technical conferences, and I would like to thank you all for paying attention to me.
Thank you, President. Thank you for the summary of yesterday's session. Let me introduce our last representative, Waldo Tapia. He is a lead specialist in the labor markets division of the Inter-American Development Bank. Since 2008, he has been responsible for developing several projects in the area of labor markets and pensions in different countries in the region, and has been involved in a number of international fora. Prior to joining the IDB, he worked in the private pensions unit at the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development in Paris. He holds a master's degree in public policy from the Korea Development Institute School in Seoul, Korea, and a master's degree in economic theory and econometrics from the School of Economics in Toulouse, France. He is currently a regional specialist based in Colombia, regional coordinator of the pension area, and lead coordinator of the pension network of Latin America and the Caribbean. Waldo, you have the floor. Good morning. I'd like to thank the organizers for giving us the chance of being part of such an important I'd like to congratulate the president of AIOS and thank Paulina, Granados and Jose Arias for all the support that they have given us in these 2 days. These are challenging times to be involved in pension matters in Latin America and the Caribbean. In the next decades, pensions will become one of the key aspects of economic and social policy in Latin America and the Caribbean. Pension systems are still facing challenges in terms of coverage, as our representative said, with significant gender gaps, challenges in terms of sustainability, challenges in terms of equality and sufficiency. In parallel, demographic changes will create bigger demands on pension systems. The way in which we address these challenges will have significant economic, social, and fiscal consequences on all countries of the region. We should not neglect other challenges as well, such as the introduction of target date funds, the impact of automation, and the introduction of environmental factors, topics that have all been discussed during this event. And these challenges are common to all countries in the region, regardless of our geographic location or the type of system we have. The IDB in 2015 created the Latin American and Caribbean Pension Network, PLAC, in order to support the efforts in the region to improve the institutional and technical capability of the pension institutions. In this way, we are trying to contribute to the improvement of pension systems in the region with emphasis on sustainability and sufficiency and equality. For the PLAC network, I would like to thank AIOS the possibility of being part of an event that is so important in the region. Since 2018, we have tried to create a strategic alliance, and we'd like to thank you for that. We have tried to develop different activities and events. We have also tried to organize 2 global pension programs that were organized during the pandemic. During the pandemic, we even got Nobel Prize winners present. And we organized a face-to-face event in Washington, D.C., maybe. And of course, this joint work between Red PLAC AIOS became one of the most important meetings. I'd just like to thank for the alliance that we have created with AIOS. I'd like to thank you for the joint work over these years, and hopefully many more years ahead of us. I'd just like to thank you on behalf of our network, and I hope we can continue to develop fruitful work, joint work in the coming years. Thank you very much.